Alright, hey guys, Pax, welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. As the title states, we'll be going over Zoroark EX, a very fun and fast-paced Darkness EX card, very similar to Pikachu EX, essentially the stage 1 version of that. Electric Mouse, the genetic apex Pikachu. This deck is also very reminiscent to Weavile EX / Darkrai EX back in the day. If you guys remember that, props to you. But yeah, this is Zoroark EX, HP 150, stage 1. Has 1 attack, Brutal Bash. This attack does 30 damage for each of your bench Darkness Pokemon. So it can do up to 90 with training area 100. And paired with Darkrai EX, you can do 120. And you can do 120 your second turn, just getting insane value just like that. This is the deck list. I'll explain all my card choices later on in this video. But yeah, if you guys are new to my channel, really do consider if you like and subscribe. It really does help me out, especially as a small-time content creator. And without further ado, let's get right in to the deck showcase. Alright, here we are in our first battle. We are going second up against the Hydreigon / Mega Absol EX solo deck. If you guys read my deck showcases, first battle isn't really meant to be too hard, more so just to get the feel for the deck. So leading with Darkrai, not ideal. Ideally for this deck, you do want to lead with either non-EX Absol or the 2 Zoroas, but it's not that bad. Our hand is looking pretty good. So we got Mega Absol EX, Zoroark, as well as Bombirdier. An amazing darkness support, essentially making it so that as long as this Pokemon's on your bench, your active darkness Pokemon's retreat cost is 1 less. In order to retreat with Darkrai, we do have to feed 1 energy. So yeah, feeding Darkrai, we could retreat. At this point, we might as well rely on Darkrai to tank a bit of damage. So yes, next turn we will sub out of Darkrai into Zoroark EX. And Zoroark's pretty notable as well because of the attack ability, Ascension. Treat this card like Quicker Extract. So after using Ascension, if you have a Zoroark EX in your deck, you could use this attack ability to instantly evolve into Zoroark EX. So your first turn, you can get Zoroark out. So yes, at this point, just end our turn. Next turn, we are doing 100 damage because Zoroark does 90. Again, very similar to Pikachu EX. Opponent feeds Mega Absol. And here we go. This is where the fun begins. So reach out a Darkrai only costing 1 energy. Into this guy. Zoroark EX is out. Training area, we do have 1 copy of Leaf, just in case you don't pull Bombirdier and you do want to retreat out of either Darkrai EX or Mega Absol. Because using this deck, you ideally want to leave with either the Zoroas or non-EX Absol. If you leave with Darkrai EX or Mega Absol, it's not the worst, but depending on how fast-paced your opponent is, that could definitely mess you up tremendously. So at this point, 100 damage, flat 100. So yeah, this guy's essentially the stage 1 version of Pikachu EX from Genetic Apex. Does the exact same damage, although it requires only 1 energy, and of course is a stage 1. Opponent subs into Mega Absol. Doesn't sub into Hydreigon, huh? Okay. Rest in peace, Poke Center Lady. Next turn, Zoroark might be dead. At this point, we might as well, for one thing, Copycat. We have 2 options right here. You can either feed Darkrai EX or Mega Absol. And honestly, at this point, it might be more beneficial to feed Mega Absol. But we do pull a Giant Cape, which will make it so that we will survive 1 turn unless my opponent does sub into Hydreigon, which they might. But yeah, just play it safe. Might as well feed Mega Absol EX and Brutal Bash. If my opponent doesn't heal, next turn we can one-shot Mega Absol because of Cyrus. That's crazy. The opponent does Giant Cape to Hydreigon. Keep in mind, this deck does have Field Blower, so essentially a Guzma. In a sense, the item card version of Guzma can do potentially more since you can't discard stadiums. But easy win. Again, first battle isn't really meant to be too hard, but I feel like this is a good comparison because we're comparing the old Darkness archetype with the new. Granted, it is a CPU, so I mean, ultimately a lot of misplays, but yeah, taking the win. This is what happens when you're pay to win. Yeah, I got the promo Mega Absol art right here. Taking the win, Darkness Claw. What does my opponent have? What could have saved them? Not really much. Okay, yeah, Cyrus, goodbye. And yeah, with that being said, we shall see how this deck performs in PvP. Alright, here we are in PvP battle. We are going first up against a Psychic deck. We are leading with Absol just to play it safe. If you pull a Beardier, next turn we can sub out of Absol for free. So if you pull it, we got Mega Absol, that's fine. Professor's Research. Nice, we got Bombirdier. So at this point, might as well just play like this. Placing out Mega Absol EX and end my turn. So there are a lot of ways to play this deck. You can either lead with, of course, Zoroark, and then once that guy gets knocked out, sub in either Mega Absol EX or Darkrai EX. But it really depends on your starting hand, of course, and which card is more beneficial to run. At this point, we might as well play it like this. Be very aggressive with Zoroark. So this is how Ascension works. You would use the ability, and just like this, very similar to Quicker Extract, comes from your deck onto the field. And next turn, I can start attacking, doing 90 damage. 100 paired with Training Area, but you have to be careful with this card because, of course, opponent does have a Punkaboo. Opponent subs into Confag Grigus, can say that name. Does 120, very scary. but it should be fine because we are able to one-shot Confagorus next turn, which is pretty nice. So training area, at this point, very straightforward, just feed Mega Absol. The cool thing about this card that I really like is that it only requires 1 energy. So when it comes to getting energy, it's very easy. At this point, might as well PC Lady the Absol. Absol is definitely a lost condition. Once Zoroark gets knocked out, opponent could easily Cyrus Absol and win the game. So just like this, doing 100+ type advantage. Easy one-shot. That's crazy. Okay, that is crazy. So opponent tries to use Gourgeist's attack, concedes. They have no cards. That's very rough. But yeah, that's ideally how you want to play this deck. Leave with Zoroark. After Zoroark gets knocked out, sub in either Darkrai EX or Absol and just bully your opponent. Very fast pace. The main issue is that, of course, if you don't outspeed your opponent, you will ultimately lose, especially if they do get their backline built. If you get Zoroark EX, we can start attacking. All right, opponent places 2 Froakies down. He's Eevee and attacks. At this point, I could training area, but that might actually buff my opponent. So for now, I'm just gonna copycat. Hopefully get a better hand. If you can get Zoroark, again, it'll be huge. We do not get Zoroark, but we do get Rocky Helmet to do a bit more damage. So yeah, at this point, feed Zoroark. Use Ascension, evolving right into Zoroark EX. And you guys might be wondering why I'm not running baby Pokemon. I tried running baby Pokemon, but the main issue with that is Zoroark's attack ability. So this Pokemon does 30 damage for each of your benched Darkness Pokemon. So yeah, I tried running Chingling, Badoo, but given those 2 Pokemon not being Darkness type, Zoroark doesn't get the buffs, only doing potentially like 30 to even 0 damage depending on your board layout. So yeah, unless they add a Darkness baby Pokemon, it's really not ideal to run Zoroark paired with babies, which kind of sucks because looking at other very similar cards such as Mega Altaria, that deck uses baby Pokemon. Of course, it doesn't work with Zoroark EX. So at this point, getting an insane lead against my opponent. So yeah, this is rough. If I did training area, we can one-shot Greninja. If my opponent did evolve into Vaporeon EX, we might have been in trouble. But yes, we can still work with this, nevertheless. So feed Darkrai EX, doing 110 damage onto Greninja. Brutal Bash, doing 90 damage. And just chill from here. Again, just outspeed your opponent, make sure that they can't do anything, and you're pretty much set. Interesting, opponent's using non-EX Vaporeon. Okay, I thought they were going to use the new version, but nice. They do Inflatable Boat, which is amazing for us. Since we do have Cyrus, if they don't heal Greninja, we can just one-shot. Perfect. Nice. So we can potentially one-shot. I could just be super aggressive right here. So training area, we finally got it yet again. I could Cyrus, but it might be more beneficial to do this. So just feed Darkrai. Next turn, we can one-shot Greninja, depending if they don't heal up. But nevertheless, getting insane value. My opponent only has 2 cards, so very unlikely that they will get another Greninja out. Anything can happen, but for now, just Brutal Bash, doing 100 damage. Rest in peace, Vaporeon. That is crazy. Okay, so they do evolve into the EX Greninja. Okay, attacks this Absol. All right, here we go. We are in the end game here. So we do have a PC Lady that could come in clutch. So if I can pull that, that would be pretty nice. We get Bombardier. PC Lady, nice. Okay, so next turn we can heal up Absol, make so that they can't get that free win. But yeah, it's not looking good for my opponent. So Darkrai EX getting insane value with its ability, one-shotting Greninja. And here we go, 100 damage. Next turn, Zoroark most likely will be dead. But if my opponent doesn't heal, I can still one-shot with Darkrai EX. They do a Rita. Okay, so at 110 HP, Zoroark paired with Darkrai can still one-shot. I doubt they're going to Cyrus to have 1 card, concedes. Damn, that's rough. All right, next battle, going second. Leading with Darkrai EX, not how you want to lead. Again, worst case scenario is to lead with either Darkrai EX or Mega Absol. I feel like Darkrai EX might be worse because if you do have Bombardier in your bench, you can easily retreat out of Mega Absol, but with Darkrai EX requires 2 energy, of course. Oh gosh, okay. Going against Hydreigon Mega Absol. This time against a real player. They do Pokeball. Not good, man. Their board layout is far better than ours. Yeah, not looking good at all. We do have Field Blower. Might as well use it. Nice. We get Bombardier, but that's pretty much it. We basically have to lead it like this. So just feed Darkrai, place training area. Might as well Field Blower as well, just in case my opponent does decide to copycat, getting insane value. So just do this. And as you can see, I can discard either the training area or the Rocky Helmet, of course, Rocky Helmet, and just end my turn. I'll save the copycat for next turn. Opponent does copycat too, okay. They do copycat. There's no way they get Hydreigon out right now. That'll be insane. The feeding Mega Absol. Might as well do this. Copycat. Very slow, but my opponent's getting pretty bad luck as well. Professor, Pokeball. Can I please get Zoroark? Nice. Okay, so next turn we can start attacking with Zoroark. At this point, retreat out of Darkrai EX. Feed Zora, and just like that, Zoroark is out, doing only 70 damage, but able to one-shot Dino. If my opponent doesn't evolve this turn, there's a very high chance, but doesn't seem like it. Nice. They do Rocky Helmet a Dino, who at this point, we could just play it like this. Very risky, but we do have a Cyrus in our deck. We can retreat out of Zoroark into Absol. Absol will be able to survive one attack from Mega Sceptile EX. So just do this. If my opponent doesn't evolve into Hydreigon next turn, that'll be a huge advantage on our part. So just doing this, ship in this Mega Absol. Okay, opponent just attacks with Dino. Nice. This will be insane. Next card, Leaf. No Cyrus just yet, which is amazing given that Mega Absol most likely will start attacking next turn. So just doing a little bit of chip damage nevertheless. So at this point, PC-lating Mega Absol, making sure that this guy can't one-shot. Beat Zoroark and leap over yet again. Attacking Mega Absol. Next turn, if you do get a Cyrus, Mega Absol is screwed. So 5 cards left. Heart of the cards. There's a 20% chance that I will pull a Cyrus and just absolutely decimate this guy. Rare Candy, I don't care, man. You can back off. You're not scaring me. If I don't get it, I am kind of in trouble, but at the same time, I can definitely just one-shot Hydreigon potentially if they do fail this coin flip. Of course they don't. Just every time, man. Opponents always guarantee the heads. Lucky Ice popping yet again. It's finally gone. Hydreigon might still die next turn if my opponent does use the ability and they don't get a Lucky Ice pop. But yes, for now, subbing into Zoroark. We got our copy of Mega Absol. Not too bad. Again, this guy will survive. Pretty awkward. Opponent has 4 cards left. We have a 25% chance to win. Okay. So this is the issue here. This is where it gets very technical because if my opponent can evolve into another Hydreigon and I do attack with Zoroark, I lose. So heart of the cards. I'm believing in the heart of the cards. 25% chance to win. I'm going to leave big brain strats with packs. So I feel like this is the safest choice I can make. The sub into Bombearder, which again you ideally want to lead, which again you ideally want to have this guy in your bench, and attack. Because if I pull Cyrus next turn, and my opponent doesn't heal this Absol, I win. Because Darkrai X combined with Zoroark does 120. This guy's at 110. Does Rare Candy. That's what I thought. So if I did attack, Zoroark would have been dead. All right, rest in peace, Bombearder. Here we go. We are in the end game right here. 25% chance to win. I think I can still survive at least one more turn. So Cyrus, GG. Damn. Yes, you gotta love these cinematic battles right here. So easy win. Sub Mega Absol into the active. Feed Darkrai. Ooh, actually, hold up. We need concedes. Okay, that's good because I okay, they could have still won. That was interesting. This is why you shouldn't concede. That's the thing about Zoroark EX. The damage is really dependent on your bench. So in that scenario, I would have done 70, meaning that Mega Absol EX would have survived. So I needed one more bench Pokemon to one-shot Mega Absol, but opponent conceded, and honestly, a win is a win, okay? Let's go with that. All right, last battle. Going first, leading with Zora. Opponent using Kartana Trico. I'll be honest, this is not looking good for us. I'm gonna Rocky Helmet this Absol. There's a chance that Zora might get knocked out next turn if you don't pull a Giant Cape. So we need to get a Giant Cape right now, which is why using this deck, I feel like you get more success going second. We got Bombearder though. Okay, we can definitely work with this. So we got Bombearder, so we can sub out of Zora. Absol should be able to survive and just end our turn. Next turn, if you do get a Zoroark, we can start attacking, absolutely one-shotting Kartana. Opponent Field Blowers, that's rough, but it shouldn't matter too much. The Absol takes a bit of damage. Zoroark top deck, look at that. Love to see this. So getting an insane lead against my opponent. And this is very interesting as well because this deck my opponent's using does hard counter Darkness type overall. Because keep in mind, Mega Sceptile EX at full power is doing 160 damage. So absolutely one-shotting Zoroark, Darkrai, every Pokemon on my field unless I do Giant Cape Zoroark. So at this point, retreat out of Absol. Once again, Bombearder coming in clutch with that free retreat. And feed Zoroark. Attack, doing 90 damage, absolutely one-shotting Kartana. At this point, my opponent has to evolve into Mega Sceptile to win. Either that or feed, of course, Trico in the bench. Very scary because we could still lose. They do copycat. Professor's Research, give me something good. We got Training Area, as well as another Zoroark. Okay. So, once again, Zoroark will get one-shotted by Mega Sceptile. At this point, I might as well sub out of Zoroark and attack with this Absol. That's really the only choice I could make in this scenario. Might as well Field Blower. I doubt they'll have a second copy of Leaf Cape. Hopefully not. So, yes, just do this. Might as well hold off on Training Area just in case my opponent does counter it with Fragrant Forest. Not helping them, but will definitely disrupt us in terms of damage. Not looking good. I feel like this is probably the worst matchup to go up against because, again, Giant Cape really does come in clutch. You're essentially relying on Giant Cape to pop off. We could Cyrus next turn, but still very scary because, yeah, Absol is knocked out. Opponents can easily just sub out of Mega Sceptile if they wanted to. They don't really have to keep attacking. So, okay. Looking at this, we need a Giant Cape. We don't get Giant Cape. We do get Mega Absol though. Sure, why not? Might as well place it. We can't launch our Mega Sceptile. So, we have to do this and sub into Mega Absol. Okay. Yeah, so once again, a very bad matchup. If I attack Trico, my opponent will get insane value, and regardless, I will still lose since Zoroark can get one-shotted. Yeah, just chill like this. This is such a painful way to end the video, but this is the main flaw for this deck, is that if Mega Sceptile EX is very prominent in the meta, you're going to have a hard time competing. And also, I'll mention this later on, but dealing with Oricorio might be rather difficult. I feel like you could still win either that or tie. But just like this, opponent evolves into Grovyle. They can attack whatever they want. Yep, attacking Zoroark, not looking good at all. So, yes, at this point, it's basically GG. I'm just gonna, you know what? Facing Mega Sceptile head on. Screw it. Do this. Training Area. Zoroark is back into active. Gonna get absolutely decimated by Mega Sceptile. But yeah, that's basically this deck in a nutshell. Very similar to Mega Sceptile as well in terms of playstyle. You just want to get them out as fast as possible and just dominate your opponent. If you're going up against Grass type, you can still win, depending on RNG, sure. But it's going to be very hard, especially if your opponent does get Mega Sceptile out. So just like that, doing 150 plus Poison, doing 160 in total. And yeah, that is the Zoroark EX deck showcase. And yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. Hopefully you guys found this video informative, as well as a little entertaining. I tried to be. But yeah, overall, this deck is very fast-paced. And the main question is it better than Hydreigon Mega Absol? I feel like this deck is better than Hydreigon Mega Absol in some regards. Other regards, not really that much. One thing to note is that Zoroark EX is an EX. So if your opponent knocks out this Pokemon, getting a ton of value. Whereas, of course, Hydreigon is pulling it up for reference, is a non-EX. So this Pokemon getting knocked out isn't really the worst. Can also hit far harder than Zoroark EX. Also, keep in mind, Zoroark EX's attack damage is dependent on your board layout. So if you only have one Darkness Pokemon on your bench, only doing 30, 2, only 60, no bench Pokemon at all, this guy is doing 0 damage. So that's one thing to note. So yeah, in regards to Hydreigon, I feel like standalone this card is debatably better. Pertaining to Zoroark EX with all the buffs, you're doing 120 max. Without type advantage, with type advantage, of course, 140. So yeah, given this, Hydreigon is still a far better card. But the main thing that Hydreigon has over Hydreigon is that, of course, it is a stage 1. Far easier to get out, especially with Zora's attack ability Ascension. But ultimately, it comes down to RNG. I've had games where I get Hydreigon out my second turn going first, getting insane lead against my opponent. Sure, there is Badoo in this game. So that's one thing to know, is that Badoo does hard counter a lot of Pokemon, most notably Hydreigon. So if your opponent is leading with Badoo, you might run into some issues with Hydreigon, but nevertheless, again, once Hydreigon gets knocked out, it's not the worst. You could sub in another Hydreigon afterwards. So yeah, it's really up to your starting hand. As you can see from this deck showcase, you could still brick using Zoroark EX. So if you want, instead of Leaf, you could run 2 copycats. Yeah, that could make it slightly more consistent, but nevertheless, a solid deck. Overall, I'd rate this deck A tier. Solid A tier. Again, part of me still prefers Hydreigon. I feel like if you aren't going up against Badoo or Mega Sceptile, Hydreigon's far better, far more consistent, a lot more versatile. Going up against Mega Sceptile EX, you have a higher chance to win with Hydreigon. Because once again, all these Pokemon, aside from Mega Absol EX, get one-shotted by Mega Sceptile, which is why Giant Cape does come in clutch, at least for Zoroark surviving. And yeah, that is the deck showcase. Once again, I really do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I would appreciate it immensely if you do like and subscribe. I have a couple of videos planned in the near future. And yeah, with that being said, hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Peace.